In this session, we will solve the roots of quadratic equation by the use of completing the square method. Of course, we will make use of the standard form of quadratic equation. By standard, in teaching how to solve the roots of quadratic equation, there are actually four methods: extracting the roots, factoring, completing the square, and quadratic formula. Actually, there is a fifth method that is actually just discovered lately by a research as coded by a mathematician that is actually an ancient tricks. In this ancient tricks, we can solve the roots of quadratic equation even in 10 seconds. Okay, extracting the roots and factoring, we are done with this. Now, in this session, we will focus ourselves with completing the square. Now, to start, there are suggested steps in completing the square. These are, you don't need to memorize the following because you will learn all these steps as you do more practices and exercises in solving the roots of quadratic equation using completing the square. Now let us have an example. P squared plus 6p minus 8 is equal to 0. Looking back with our suggested steps, it says that the first step is combine like terms if necessary. So there is no need for us to combine similar terms because the given is already in the standard form. Next step is isolate the variable at the left side of the equation if necessary. So if you notice, negative 8 here is a constant term. So what we are going to do is we transpose that one to the other side to have an equation p squared plus 6p is equal to 8. Next step is divide the coefficient of the linear term by 2. So this is our linear term. And the coefficient of our linear term is 6. So we will divide this by 2. So we have 6 divided 2 is equal to 3. And the next step is square the result in step 4. Since 3 is the result of 6 divided 2, we will square this one as 3 to the power of 2, and 3 to the power of 2 is of course 9. The next step is we will add this 9 in each side of the equation. So we have p squared plus 6p plus 9 is equal to 8 plus 9. So the next thing is we will simplify 8 plus 9. So that is p squared plus 6p plus 9 equals 17. And next step is we will factor the left side of the equation by the perfect square trinomial. So we have p plus 3 raised to the power of 2. The question is, how did we obtain p and 3? So the technique, guys, is just get the square root of p squared, which is p, and the square root of 9 is 3. Why positive? Because the sign of our linear term is positive, so that is why it's also positive. If this is negative, this is also negative, is equal to 17. The next step is we extract the roots in both sides of the equation and affixing positive, negative in the right side before the square root. So we have the square root of p plus 3 raised to the power of 2 is equal to positive, negative square root of 17. Eliminating our square root and the power of 2, so we have p plus 3 is equal to positive, negative square root of 17. Transposing 3 to the other side, so we have p is equal to negative 3, positive, negative square root of 17. So there are two values of our p, the positive and the negative. So we will now separate them as p is equal to negative 3 plus square root of 17 and p is negative 3 minus square roots of 17. Now, the most important part in solving the roots of quadratic equation is to check if your roots are accurate. So, for you to check if the accuracy, you can actually check. If p is equal to negative 3 plus square root of 17, this is now the process of checking. Now, if P is negative 3 minus square root of 17. If you notice, its 0 is equal to 0. So meaning to say, your roots or our roots are true. Okay, next example. M squared plus 14m minus 7 is equal to 0. Before I will continue, if you have some question, you can write your comment at the comments section and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, looking back to our suggested steps, so we don't need to combine similar terms because this is already in the standard form of quadratic equation. So what we are going to do is we isolate the variable. So negative 7 is a constant term, so we will transpose that to the other side. So what is left is m squared plus 14m is equal to 7. So we have isolated the variable in the left side. The next step is we will go to the linear term and we get the coefficient of 14, dividing this by 2 and squaring it. Of course, that is 49. So 14 divided 2 is 7 and we square 7. So 7 squared is equal to 49. And what will we do with 49 is we will add this one in both sides of the equation. Simplifying this further, so we got square root of m plus 7 squared is equal to positive negative square root of 56. Eliminating the square root and the power of 2, so what is left is m plus 7. And since square root of 56 is not a perfect square, but we can factor 56 with one of each factor is the largest perfect square. And that is 4 times 14. 4 times 14 is of course 56. So simplifying this, we have m plus 7 is equal to positive negative 2. How did we obtain 2? That is square root of 4 is 2. And since 14 is not a perfect square and we cannot factor this one any further with one of its factor is a perfect square, so we just copy 14. Simplifying that, we have m is equal to negative 7, positive negative 2 square root of 14. So there are two values of our m. So we have m is negative 7 plus 2 square root of 14 and m is negative 7 minus 2 square root of 14. So checking in this example is left for you to do. Example number 3. 2x squared minus 3x is equal to 9. Now, going to our suggested steps, we don't need to combine similar terms. We don't need to isolate the variable because the variable are already isolated. The next step is divide the equation by the coefficient of the quadratic term if necessary. Now, since the coefficient of our quadratic term is 2 and not 1, so what we are going to do is we will eliminate this 2 as the coefficient. And how to do that? We will divide all terms in our equation by 2. We cancel 2. What is left now is x squared minus 3 over 2x is equal to 9 over 2. So we will focus ourselves in our linear term. What we are going with to do with negative 3 over 2 is we will divide that by 2. After that, we cannot actually divide a fraction by a whole number, but we can change the operation to multiplication and get the reciprocal of 2. We have negative 3 over 2 times 1 half. Simplifying this further, so we have negative 3 over 4. After that, the next step is we will square negative 3/4. And negative 3/4 raised to the power of 2 is of course 9 over 16. So we will add 9 over 16 in each side of the equation. So we will factor the left side of the equation and we will add the fraction in the right side. So we have x minus 3/4 squared because the square root of x squared is x The square root of 9 and 16 is 3/4. Why negative? Because the sign of our linear term is negative. So getting the LCD of our fraction, the LCD is 16. So 16 divided 2 is 8 times 9 is 72 plus 16 divided 16 is 1 times 9 is 9. So simplifying this fraction, we have 81 over 16. And extracting both sides of the equation, we have square root of x minus 3/4 squared is equal to positive negative square root of 81 over 16. We cancel now our square root and the power of 2, so we have x minus 3/4 is equal to positive negative 9 over 4 because the square root of 81 is 9 and the square root of 16 is 4. We will transpose negative 3/4 to the other side so that we will know the value of our x. So x is equal to 3/4 plus 9 over 4 and x is 3/4 minus 9 over 4. So our value for our x or the roots of our quadratic equation is 3 and x is equal to negative 3 over 2. How did we obtain 3? That is 3 plus 9 is equal to 12 divided by 4 is 3. And what about negative 3 over 2? That is 3 minus 9 is negative 6 divided by 4 is negative 6 over 4. Reducing that one to the lowest term, that will give you negative 3 over 2. And again, checking in this problem is left for you to work on. Example number 4 is also a problem that is left for you to work on. Just write your answer in the comment section and I'll give a heart for those with correct answer. For your practice worksheets in solving quadratic equation by completing the square method, I have prepared a Google Drive link in the description box. Download it and start practicing the worksheet. Of course, key answer is being provided. If you like our video presentation, please do like and kindly share for others to watch this video. And please do not forget to subscribe to my channel and please hit the notification bell for you to be updated with my next session. Thank you.